Welcome to Average Joe's Gym's Home Projects, where we do projects and maintenance at home that even the average Joe can accomplish. In today's episode, we're going to be switching out a wax ring from my guest bathroom toilet with this Fluid Master Better Than Wax toilet seal. Let's do it. So what spurred me to do this project was one of the bolts that holds my toilet to the floor had come loose from the flange. Anytime you take the toilet off the floor, you need to replace the wax seal. To get started, just remove the nuts from the bolts. This one was loose, so I had to use vice grips to hold it so that I could unscrew the nut. Toilets are heavy. I got this one myself, but I definitely recommend you find someone else to help you remove the toilet. Totally interested. This is the disgusting part. That's the old wax ring right there. You need to remove it and discard it. Once you've done that, try to clean up the flange and remove the old wax that's still on it. Hopefully you can reuse the slots in the flange for the new bolts. A previous plumber had put a second nut onto the flange bolt to hold it in place. I had to remove that first before I could take out the old bolt. Yeah. Here's everything that came with the new toilet seal. New flange bolts, washers and nuts, a gasket, and the toilet seal made of rubber. Almost every home project I do has some kind of setback or disappointment that upsets me or frustrates me during the project. I thought it was going to be this old flange, but I lucked out and there was a miracle and I was able to use the bolts in the old flange slots and they held. The kit came with these plastic washers to hold the bolts in an upright position so you can put the toilet on without knocking them over. The next step is to place this gasket made of foam and plastic over the top of the hole and then the rubber boot that sits over the top of that. I learned my lesson from lifting the toilet all by myself off of the bolts. I wasn't going to mess it up this time once I placed it on there and knock over all the bolts. I got my wife to help me out and we lifted it right on and put the bolts straight through the holes. For me, this is the most important and dangerous part of the project. You've got to get the nuts onto the bolts without turning the bolt sideways and causing it to come out of the slot. If it comes out of the slot, you have to take the toilet back off and reset it in the slots. The thought of that stressed me out. So if you can see, I was very careful putting on the washer and threading on the nut very slowly so I don't turn the bolt. Just to be safe, I held the bolts from the top with vice grips as I tightened the nut down, which holds the toilet nice and steady. Once the nuts are tight, it makes a nice tight seal in the boot underneath the toilet, and also makes the toilet nice and steady on the floor. Finally, reconnect the water to the water tank on the toilet and turn it on. Once the tank's full, give it a flush and check for any leaks underneath the toilet. If you enjoyed this project, please check out our other projects on Average Joe's Gym's Home Projects. and like and subscribe for future projects.